Welcome to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show presented by the great folks at COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center, where your health is their mission. And we've got a couple of very special guests with us today. It's Merlin and Don Vandervorts. They are the owners of the Encore Grill and Sky Bar, right? And the resort Lake of the Ozarks. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming over. You're so busy. I know you have to schedule this and come over and take it out of your busy days.
No, we appreciate the invitation. We're glad to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and I got your bio, and I'm like, it reads like a book. Your life has been so fascinating and entertaining. It was amazing. So we'll probably do several shows with Merlin and Don because there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So one of my favorite parts is how you guys met, right? I mean,
it's a great story.
Yeah, it really is. You kind of meet by chance at a gas station, no less. Yes. So tell us about how did that happen?
You go.
It's kind of a long story, but this was back in
shorten the version.
Shorten the version. This was right before 9/11. It was
the good stuff where you talk about me.
Yeah, August right before 9/11. I had actually came down to the lake. I was going to spend a 3-day weekend, so I came down Thursday night. And my previous life career, we rebuilt communities after natural disasters, hurricanes, and stuff like that. Anyway, I got down here Thursday evening and got a call from our office in Chicago that we had a project up there that I needed to be at the next day. So it basically screwed up my 3-day weekend that I was going to come to the lake. So I got up early the next morning and was headed out of the lake, and I was driving to Kansas City Airport to fly to Chicago. Anyway, so I stopped to fill up my car with gas, and as luck would have it, I'm sitting there filling up my car, and all of a sudden on the other side of the gas pump, this pickup truck pulls over, and out steps my wife. Beautiful gal. She had her hair pulled back in a ponytail, big, beautiful blue eyes, and
it was like aha moment,
I have
right?
to tell you, I was a diehard bachelor before that. I'd been divorced for several years and had sworn off ever getting remarried or even being in a serious relationship. And anyway, so out steps my wife, and I just, basically hung up the phone with the guy. I was on the phone with my contact person in Chicago. I basically just hung up on him because I was just kind of smitten with her. And so anyway, she goes in and she pays for her gas, and I go in to do the same. And we both kind of knew the guy that owned the place. And we kind of were making a little bit of small talk with him. Anyway, she's getting ready to go back out and get in her car. And I'm thinking, oh my God. I said,
I cannot let her get out.
Let her get out. Yeah. So I said, stop, wait a minute. I've got to introduce myself to you. So I did. And we talked for a little bit. And she said she was working for a construction company during the day, but she was tending bar one night a week at the old Big Easy, which is Lake House 13 now. Anyway, she said, stop in some night and have a beer. Well, she claims that she told me that she only worked on Saturday night, so I didn't hear that. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, yes, I'm definitely going to stop in and have a beer. So I'm driving to Kansas City, and I called my travel agent. This is back, 22 years ago when we all had, you had a travel agent. Mm-hmm. And I said, Kathy, I said, you got to get me, I said, I need you to get me a flight back to Kansas City tonight where I can be back to the lake no later than 11 o'clock. And so anyway, I drive to Kansas City, fly to Chicago, get this project all lined up, get the manpower and whatnot going on. And anyway, I fly back to Kansas City, drive straight back to the lake. And so I didn't have time to even, go back to my house and change or anything. So I went straight to the Big Easy. And I sat down at the bar, and I looked around when I pulled in. I didn't see her truck in there anywhere. So I kind of looked around, and I said, so I asked the bartender, I said, hey, is Dawn working tonight? And D was the bartender at the time, and he says, oh, no, Dawn only works on Saturday nights.
Wow.
So I killed myself driving, flying,
He came back.
Yeah, so I came back on Saturday, asked her out, and the rest is history.
Now that's love at first sight.
It was love at first sight.
Wow. Yeah. Was it for you?
Yeah, it was a great story.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, definitely, yes.
Oh, man, how long did it take? I mean, was it that fast for you?
Yeah, we moved in.
Yeah, she moved to Kansas City with me about a month later.
30 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it all worked out pretty good.
It worked out great.
Yeah.
So we have our 22nd. We've been together 22 years. It'll be our 20-year wedding anniversary this October.
Well, those years fly by fast.
Yes, they do.
It was 23 years.
Gee, well.
So, yes.
I think it's 23 years.
So you guys are the owners of what used to be Fat Polly's Pub and the Port...
the Lodge at Port Arrowhead.
Yeah, the Lodge at Port Arrowhead.
Yeah.
So you drove in there on your motorcycles one day and just...
It was a little bit more than that. I used to do some consulting work, and I had a guy that was interested in maybe renting Fat Polly's and turning it into a restaurant. It had been closed down basically because of COVID. And he asked me to, if I'd kind of look at the numbers and stuff and see if it was a viable business for him. And I didn't think it was for him, and it didn't, he didn't have the capital he needed to do anything with it anyway. And I'd never even seen it. It was just kind of unique because, having, owned the Horny Toad and been in the restaurant business down here since 1999. I drove by Fat Polly's probably 4 times a day, every day for 26 years.
Yeah.
And never even knew it was there. So that's how kind of unimpressive it was. And so I'm trying in my head I'm like, where in the hell is this place? So finally, this was November of 2020, I guess. My wife and I were riding around on our motorcycle, and we said, let's just, go see if we can find this place and see what it is. So we drove down, and it sits behind the hotel.
Yeah.
And the building was, it was kind of a dilapidated building. My first thought was we just need to tear it down. If anybody was interested, they needed to tear it down. But the more I got looking at it, had a great location and it had a great lake view. I mean, it's basically the exact same location that, J.B. Hooks and Baxter's and Bentley have, the exact same lake view. But it's got a ton of parking, had more parking than, any restaurant around. And I thought, this might be of interest to us. So anyway, we found out who the owners of the, because at the time, the owners of the hotel owned the hotel and the restaurant.
Yeah.
So we had some friends down at Marine Max Marina because it overlooks Marine Max Marina. Got a hold of them and said, hey, can you put us in contact with who owns the hotel? And so we got a hold of the hotel owner, and I said, look, we're interested in buying the restaurant from you. The guy said, oh, we're not going to sell it. We can't sell it because all our meeting space, all our convention space is in that building. And I said, well, I'm not interested in leasing it. I said, it needs, at the time I was thinking maybe $5 million renovation. And I said, so I'm not interested in leasing it. I said, I wouldn't lease it for free. If you wanted to do that, I wouldn't even do that. So anyway, we met with the owners, one of the owners, and had a discussion, told them what we were wanting to do. And pretty much came to an agreement that, look, if we were going to invest kind of money we're going to do it, that they would sell us just the restaurant, and we would work out something to, when they had groups in, we would lease them the space or whatever down below where our conference space is now. So long story short, we bought the building April 2021, basically gutted it, tore it down to the, basically to the foundation and some of the framing walls, and rewired it, replumbed it, everything new. Added the big sky bar on it, doubled the size of the space, redid the entire convention center, built the big sky bar, put a beautiful commercial swimming pool up there, and we opened it 2 days before Thanksgiving of that year. So we did a lot of work in a short period of time.
I guess so.
Yeah,
Especially in 2021.
Yeah, especially in 2021.
Wow, right after COVID.
Yeah.
And it is gorgeous. If you haven't been over there to the Encore and the Sky Bar, it is amazing. And we'll talk about all of the stuff you've been doing over there when we come back. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show. If you love the lake, you gotta love Lake TV. Central Ozarks Medical Center, voted Missouri's best and best at the lake, is recruiting team members due to growth. Amazing employment opportunities for both medical and non-medical positions with competitive salaries and outstanding perks. For more information, go to the Careers tab at centralozarks.org. COMC for the best medical, dental, and behavioral health care. Join a leader. Join our team. COMC, where your health is our mission. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, Lake TV's got it all. We think it's hot stuff when things cool down. We spring into action when things start warming up. Of course, summer is one big, huge shootout on Lake TV. And we fall in love all over again when autumn rolls around. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, Lake TV's got it all. Welcome back to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show, presented by the great folks at COMC. We're talking with Merlin and Don Vandervort, owners of Resort at the Lake of the Ozarks and the Encore Grill and Sky Bar. So you guys have made a ton of changes over there and upgrades since you bought it in 2021.
We bought the restaurant in 2021, and then didn't buy the hotel until the following year, so about a year later, 22.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you give us a ballpark of how much money you've put into that? I mean, it's millions and millions of dollars you guys have put into that.
A lot.
Yeah, it's north of $25 million.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. And again, if you haven't been over there, you've got to go over there and see that because it is amazing. So your dad was in the Air Force.
Yes, he was.
Growing up. You ended up in Kansas City. I'm guessing you moved around quite a bit?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so it was just fortuitous that you ended up in Missouri.
It is, exactly. My dad retired from Richards Gebaur Air Force Base just in South Kansas City, and yeah, that's kind of how we ended up in Kansas City.
Right. And then your folks started buying rental properties, I think.
My mom and dad, before they divorced, they bought like a kind of like a motel style apartment building. It was kind of off-base housing for military at the time, and then when they divorced, my mom kept that part of the property, and she managed it, and basically helped raise us kids on it.
Yeah, and then you kind of cut your teeth on that.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
your first paying job was as a dishwasher?
Yeah, my first paying job, I worked for a man named Ronald Reagan.
Really? Not the Ronald Reagan?
Not the Ronald Reagan. I'll never forget when I first went in for an interview. I was 12 years old, and the guy introduced himself to me, shook my hand. He said, my name's Ronald Reagan, like the actor. I'm like, I'm 12, and who the heck is Ronald Reagan, the actor? I never heard of him. So about 3 years later, Ronald Reagan, the actor, gets elected president of the United States. A lot of people ask me, Merlin, is that why you're such a conservative? I said, no, I'm a conservative because I was washing dishes at the age of 12 for $1.65 an hour.
Yeah. It's funny, though. That was one of my first jobs after paper route was dishwasher. But it's jobs like that that teach you the work ethic,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
That's very important. Now, you're so pretty you probably didn't have to work.
That's not true. I started right here at Tres Hombres.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started busing at Tres Hombres back, when I was probably about 12 or 13. Yeah.
It really teaches you the value of hard work. And, and back in those days, you could smoke. Everybody could smoke. So I started smoking their smoke, when I was 12.
Yep.
Because, you were just in those buildings. So when you have rental properties, it can get dangerous.
Yeah.
And it did. I mean, your mother was shot and you were stabbed.
Yeah. Yeah.
What in the world?
Yeah, it was my mom. After my mom and dad divorced, my mom she started a management company, and she managed some buildings in some rough neighborhoods of Kansas City, in Midtown Kansas City. And so I'd after school and on the weekends I'd work maintenance at a really young age, and for several years. But my mom she got shot by one of her tenants and shot twice in the stomach, and she survived it. I mean, she lived.
Wow.
And I was helping her try to evict somebody from an apartment, and I got stabbed. And I was 17 at the time. So there's a lot of very interesting childhood. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. So a lot of times people look at successful people like you guys and they go, silver spoon, never had a rough day in their life, right? I mean, there's a backstory there, right? I mean, it wasn't all money and, riches.
We're still waiting to see the money.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Pretty amazing. And you mentioned that your folks got a divorce. So mom stayed in Kansas City, dad went to Wisconsin.
Yep, absolutely. My mom and dad both were from Wisconsin. So my dad moved back to Wisconsin, and I spent, initially I spent all the summers with my dad and went to school in Kansas City. And then my sophomore and junior year, I moved up to Kansas City and lived with my dad up there. So
okay,
yeah.
If you have to be in Wisconsin in the summer time's the time to be.
Yeah,
up
sometimes.
there, right?
Well, we were big snowmobilers, and so we loved. The winter times were nice in Wisconsin too, but you get really cold and a lot of snow.
You better have the right
exactly
gear
right.
for that. Yeah, we still have some friends that do that every year.
Crazy things, they almost never cancel school up there. It didn't matter how much, you get down here, you get 2 inches of snow, or they're canceling school. We never cancel
You
school.
get a bad forecast
Yeah,
around
right.
here.
They
in
cancel
Kansas.
school
You don't
anymore.
need any snow.
That's exactly right.
Just in case.
That's exactly
So real
right.
quickly, we're down to our last few seconds. If folks want more information about the Encore Grill and Sky Bar, Resort Lake of the Ozarks, where do they find that?
If they just go to theencoregrill.com or theresortlakeozark.com, they can get all the information they need. Yeah.
Okay, greatness. Thank you so much for joining us for the Community Spotlight Show. We're going to have them on for several more shows because there's so much to talk about. But thank you for joining us for Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show.